Red light cameras could be coming back to Greensboro, or at least that's the headline with Fox 8. Welcome, Greensboro, to my channel. I'm Barnes Auto Detailing, and today we're going to dive into the possibility that your town manager or assistant town manager, Trey Davis, wants to bring back red light cameras to Greensboro. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it. Here is the article, and links for everything I'm going to show you are going to be down in the description. Check that out after the video. This is Fox 8 in Greensboro, I believe. WGHP, and here is their story.
Could they be coming back? Yeah, red light cameras are in the spotlight once again here in the Piedmont Triad. In fact, today Greensboro City Council members heard about a possible plan to bring them back. Good evening. Welcome to the Fox 8 6 o'clock news. I'm Neil McNeil.
I'm Katie Nordine. Fox 8 Celeste Smith was at that work session. So Celeste, what did you learn?
Well, city staff gave an update on what it would take for the city to bring back the red light cameras, and they plan to move forward with the next steps. And I spoke with many drivers who said that they are in support of it.
Gotta love how it's always presented like it's a good thing.
Making the streets of Greensboro safer, that's the goal of the red light camera program plan. The plan was presented by Greensboro Assistant City Manager Trey Davis.
Ultimately, it's about saving lives, or trying to save lives and reduce significant injuries.
And drivers I spoke with today along Wendover Avenue say they like the idea.
It's always important to catch people doing bad things, especially red lights. It's important to stop, don't want to get in a car accident or anything like that.
I have been in an accident recently on West Market about 5 years ago. Lady ran a red light on me and my son. I was taking him to school, and of course there were witnesses that saw the whole thing, but it would have been better maybe if there was a camera on the light as well.
Davis said the proposed red light camera program would cost around $300,000 to $400,000 each year. The city would have to contract with a third-party vendor. With data gathered from the city's Department of Transportation, they are also looking to identify the top 5 angle crash intersections where the cameras could potentially sit.
What history and data would tell you is that the angle crash is basically almost like a T-bone crash, is much more serious, or can be much more serious than the rear end crashes.
We're going to dive into that little piece of data that he's skimming over here in the later part of the video, but let's keep going.
Greensboro shut down its red light camera program in 2005 after courts ruled the city must give 90% of its revenue from the program to the school system, making it...
Now, it wasn't about safety back then, and it's not about safety now. Notice how when they were told by a judge they had to give their money to the school systems, they suddenly decided they didn't want to do it. It's not about safety. They want your money.
It's financially impractical for the city to continue using the cameras. The rule hasn't changed. Despite the rule, at the work session, city council members still expressed a strong interest in the return of the red light cameras, but it remains unclear how they will pay for it.
There have been some lawsuits throughout the state. However, none of them have been successful in their pursuit.
Now, I can't speak to the lawsuits in North Carolina, but we do have a piece from a lawyer in Iowa, I believe it was. We'll get into that later as well.
We do know that there's still a few cities in our state that are maintaining the program. A good bit of it was relevant to the split in the funds, where the 90% was going to go, where the cities could recover more of those funds, of different trade-offs.
See, it's always about the money.
However, I want to say this, our focus is really about the safety.
We're going to question that too.
I wouldn't want to see us not move forward on a program like this for the sake of trying to belabor over different percentages.
For some people
Well, that's what you did.
in Greensboro, it would be well worth the investment.
They probably should bring them back so people can be more aware of, the red lights and things like that. And just, be careful because, this is people's lives when you're on the road driving.
City staff will be moving forward with working on the plan for the red light camera program and will begin to work out how it could potentially fit into the city's budget. And the next time they're expected to discuss this plan in front of council members will be next month. Live in Greensboro, Celeste Smith, Fox 8 News.
Now, once upon a time when media was honest, they would actually go through and have people on that disagreed or kind of try to weigh it. But if you notice now with a lot of the stories I've covered, they just tend to announce it. It's here. It doesn't matter what your opinion is, doesn't matter how you feel about it, doesn't matter what the facts are. It's coming and it's good. So sucks for you. Let's jump right into refuting this. So one major study that I'm sure a lot of people are going to refer to when they're pro red light camera is going to be this one by the IIHS. Red light running. Red light running happens frequently and is often deadly. In 2021, 1,103 people were killed in crashes involving red lights. And I don't say this to mock the people that died. It's very unfortunate. I say that to mock these apologists for this system. Red light safety cameras are an effective way to discourage running red lights. Enforcement is the best way to get people to comply with the law, but it is impossible for police to be at every intersection. Cameras can fill the void. And an IIHS study found that cameras reduce the fatal red light running crashes rates of large cities by 21% and the rate of all types of fatal crashes at signalized intersections by 14%. Cameras do not violate the privacy. Driving is a regulated activity and people who obtain licenses are agreeing to abide by certain rules. Red light safety cameras are a way to catch people who break these rules, just like traditional enforcement. Proper signal timing makes intersections safer. Adequate yellow time reduces red light running and leads to fewer crashes. Okay. All mocking aside, and I don't mean to mock people particularly. That's a key point we're going to get into down here because they even say it in this article. Providing adequate yellow signal time is important and can reduce crashes. Studies have shown that increasing yellow timing to values associated with guidelines published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers can significantly decrease the frequency of red light violations and reduce the risk of total crashes. Injury crashes and right angle crashes, which T-bone crashes, but they're going to continue through most of this stuff to refer to them as right angle crashes. So just remember, T-bone crashes, right angle crashes, these are the same thing. Adjusting yellow signal time alone may not be enough. An IIHS study concluded in Philadelphia evaluated effects on red light running of first lengthening yellow signal timing by about a second and then introducing red light safety cameras, while longer yellow reducing red light violations by 36%, adding camera enforcements cut red light running by 96%. So in their own studies that they're going to cite for why these are good and effective, they say that yellow signal timing is key to this. So remember this for later. We're going to jump into another video here. And again, if you want to read the rest of this article, as I can't cover it all, link will be in the description. Check it out after the video. We're going to jump into this video by Vox. Not normally a source I would cite, but this video is actually pretty good. So this is Vox. This was a video published 7 years ago. Why red light cameras are a scam. Let's get into this one.
Here's the nightmare. The light turns green. It's clear to go through. You make your way down the intersection, but out the corner of your eye, and an instant later, there's another notch added to the 30,000 deaths from car crashes a year, of which up to 23% are intersection related. So law enforcement and city officials all over the country have tried to solve this problem by installing red light cameras to get drivers to slow down, stop, and save lives, rather than just blowing through red lights.
The ultimate hope is to improve safety at the intersection by reducing traffic crashes.
There's just one problem. These cameras don't just stop car crashes, they create others as well. Since the 1960s, thousands of red light cameras have been posted around intersections across the US. And there's no denying that these cameras really can and do save lives. But they also show an increase in less deadly rear-end collisions because of drivers abruptly stopping to avoid red light tickets. And depending on where cameras are placed, they create more car crashes, where there weren't many or any at all to begin with. Crashes at intersections are most often caused by cars turning left while cars cross on the opposite side of the road. Many tickets are going to drivers who California rolled to turn right on red, but those cars only make up about 1%.
I'm going to pause that here so you can take a look at these statistics if you want to. Go ahead and pause the video if you want it. And then we're going to continue.
Of intersection crashes. There is, of course, another reason beyond safety why cities would install red light cameras. Tickets from red light cameras can cost a driver between $50 and $500. Cities like Orlando, Florida, Chicago, Illinois.
And we're going to have another video from Chicago here later on in the stream.
And Washington, D.C. bring in millions of dollars in fines from red light camera tickets. Camera vendors such as Red Flex Traffic Systems, American Traffic Solutions, and several others have incentive to get a lot of contracts because they take care of the installation, operation, and maintenance of those cameras, which in turn cost cities millions of dollars. In Chicago, one ex-city official was convicted in receiving up to $2 million in bribes for red light camera contracts. And in a lawsuit, a fired Red Flex executive named 13 other cities that allegedly participated in receiving bribes from the traffic camera company as well. If safety were really the biggest or only concern, there are alternatives to red light cameras that would be just as effective and cost less. It would take just a bit more city planning. For example, the timing of yellow lights is key. The federal guidelines specify that yellow lights need only to fall between 3 and 6 seconds.
Remember this from earlier?
But red light cameras might give cities incentive to stay on the shorter end of that range. In Florida, when intersections' yellow light intervals were adjusted from 3.9 seconds to 4.8 seconds, and there was a 79% drop in issued citations. Curb extensions and speed humps also forced traffic to.
I know here in Raleigh, we've definitely had some intersections that used to have red light cameras that definitely started feeling like their yellow segment was felt like 2 seconds.
Slow down. Visual cues like signs are another way to signal to drivers to be even more aware of an impending stop. Even the unpopular roundabout is not only safer than a four-way or T intersection, it also increases traffic flow efficiency. So now, several cities across the U.S. are rethinking their red light camera programs. And Albuquerque, New Mexico ended their program in 2011.
The bottom line is that this is a company that's for profit. They're going to make a profit, and that's what these cameras do.
All right, and I have to hope, I'm getting a warning here on the stream. I think you just saw me pull it up. I have to hope that none of this is going to get pulled for me showing other videos from other channels. But again, I'm linking these videos, so they should be getting views as well. It's just an unfortunate thing we have to deal with as we cover stories like this. They will do what they can to take it down. All right, so to refute the earlier study, Scientific American has this: red light cameras may not make streets safer. And the intro is a little long, so I'm going to jump right into the bottom where they get into our study. In our study, we focused on Houston, a major U.S. city that operated a large camera program at 66 intersections between 2006 and 2010. One reason we chose Houston is to take advantage of the natural experiment that occurred when city residents passed a referendum in November 2010 to ban the cameras. We accessed detailed accident information on every traffic accident in Texas from 2003 to 2014 through public records information request. The data included the accident's precise geocoded location, the type of accident, whether the driver ran a red light, and details on any injuries. When the Houston cameras were removed, angle accidents, remember that's T-bone collisions, angle accidents increased by 26%. However, all other types of accidents decreased by 18%. Remember, this is when the cameras were removed. Approximately 1/3 of all Houston intersection accidents are angle accidents. This suggests the program's drawbacks canceled out its benefits. Our study showed no evidence that cameras reduced the total number of accidents. We estimate that total accidents are reduced by statistically insignificant 3% after the cameras are turned off. So 3% they go down without cameras. Likewise, there's no evidence that the camera program reduced the number of traffic-related injuries or likelihood of incurring an incapacitating injury. The elevated number of traffic accidents at urban intersections is a serious public health issue, but our study shows that Houston's camera program was ineffective in improving traffic safety. Electronic monitoring is not the solution. So if you wanted to read the rest of the article or click the links that they reference to, that will be in the description. Check it out after the video. We're going to jump into, do traffic cameras save lives? So I'm starting this video here. This is another PBS NewsHour video, and I'm going to start this one at about 5 minutes and 5 seconds. So the full video is linked in the description. Check it out after this one.
Motorists filed a class action lawsuit arguing that those fines violated their due process.
With speed cameras and red light cameras, you're guilty until proven innocent, and that's not right. That offends me as a lawyer, it offends me as a citizen, and it offends me as an American.
Michael Allen is a former prosecutor and municipal judge in Cincinnati and the lawyer who represented those drivers.
You know, when somebody challenges a speeding citation, which rarely happens, but if it does, that police officer has to raise his right arm and testify that the device he used, the laser radar, was properly calibrated, that he is properly trained, that he is certain that the person that is charged is the person that was driving that vehicle. You don't have these in the speed camera cases.
A county judge agreed. He called the cameras a high-tech game of three-card Monte, a scam that the motorists can't win, and ordered Elmwood Place to remove the cameras and pay back the fines. Generating income from those fines was why the village installed the cameras in the first place, according to Allen.
It's all about revenue. You're seeing a trend in this country towards policing for profit, and that's not what law enforcement is supposed to be about.
We sat down with the Oberhausers the other day. Their daughter was killed, a side-on collision. Could you look at them and make a due process argument to people who are aggrieved that their adult daughter was killed?
I think I could. I would do it very respectfully, though. But I'm going to say something that some are going to consider controversial, I think. You see so many times in the criminal justice system where you have the families of people that have suffered horrible tragedies, and legislators will rush to change laws because of that. And at the end of the day, those laws actually are counterproductive and contrary to due process. That's not the way to make policy. That's not the way to legislate.
Allen won an injunction against another town, and he's filed a third lawsuit against the city of Dayton. Two members of the state house have introduced a bill that would ban cameras in Ohio.
I want you to take a look at the bipartisan representation we have here in this segment. This is something we used to be able to do in this country.
Ohio. Ron Magg represents a mostly rural district and calls himself a darling of the Tea Party. Dale Mallory represents part of inner-city Cincinnati and calls himself a liberal Democrat. They agree with Michael Allen that cameras violate due process and are primarily intended to generate revenue. But they're also concerned about drivers' privacy.
Just look at the NSA spying on all your phone calls and your computer work. We have too much. I mean, if you own that store across the street and you want a camera out there to see who's coming in your store, that's fine by me. But the government has no right to be spying on American citizens.
Mallory believes police like traffic cameras because they generate revenue, even when they're reluctant to use cameras to fight other crimes.
We wanted cameras in our communities for drug dealing, for real, serious crimes. And they said, well, you can use that camera, but if a guy's got crack in his hand, we can identify it, but an officer has to be there to confirm it.
Mallory and Mag say the first...
See, don't you love that? Real crime, officers got to be there to confirm it. Revenue generating BS like traffic infractions, here's a ticket in the mail. We don't want to do anything about the drug dealer. That's dangerous.
Firms that install the cameras and take a percentage of the revenue they generate have organized a lobbying campaign against their bill. Camera advocates Paul and Sue Oberhauser have been part of that effort. They're co-chairs of a pro-camera group that's partially funded by camera companies. But they argue...
Lobbying.
That support hasn't changed their message one bit.
I am going to cut it here just because their daughter died in a fatal car wreck, and it should never have happened. That's very unfortunate. My heart goes out to them, but you know, I just don't think they understand the full scope of what it is they're asking for, and I don't think they understand how these programs are utilized. And it doesn't necessarily guarantee that something unfortunate like this would not have happened. It just means you'd have footage to look at, which isn't really going to do anything after the fact to save lives. So again, the link to this will be in the description. The next part is something quite interesting. Again, Assistant Town Manager Trey Davis, if you noticed, a lot of people in that town council, and there's a good minority population in Greensboro. So this isn't necessarily my argument, and I don't necessarily endorse this argument, but the argument has been made that red light cameras and speed cameras disproportionately affect the minority community. And we're going to go again to another PBS NewsHour piece that was done about 9 months ago. I'm going to jump in here at about 1 minute and 20 seconds. So the intro and the full video, again, in the description. Let's get into it.
Hairdresser Dyra Brooks, who runs a salon next to Shea Sumter's garage, had no such reminder.
I got a speed ticket. I was going like 35, 36.
In a 30-mile-an-hour zone. And then...
I never received any tickets in the mail. That next Friday, I had a boot on my truck.
Chicago introduced automated speed cameras in 2013. The fine, $35 for going 10 miles an hour over the limit. But in 2021, the threshold was cut to 6 miles an hour over. Chicago has since raked in an extra $120 million, paid mostly, according to ProPublica, by drivers of color.
The program was rolled out under the auspices that it was all about public safety.
City Council member Anthony Beal represents the city's largely black 9th Ward.
We've learned that it's not about public safety, that the entire system is about generating revenue.
You're an alderman. The city does need money, right?
The city does need money, but if we're going to generate revenue, it needs to be off the backs of the entire city of Chicago and not targeted towards the black and brown communities where the people are hurting the most. I've had residents go to the grocery store. They got a ticket going to the grocery store, and they got a ticket going home from the grocery store.
Those are the same neighborhoods that are food deserts.
Stacy Sutton has studied literally millions of tickets given in Chicago from 2016 to 2019. Who got them disproportionately?
Majority black neighborhoods or majority Latinx neighborhoods, those are the same neighborhoods that have less access to public transportation.
And more tickets they can't afford. Dyra Brooks paid the first just to unboot her car.
Then when I paid that, then I had to get on a payment plan for the rest of them.
Because the tickets, 8 or 9 in total, had doubled in price due to late fees.
I'm happy that we're talking about it because my payment plan is due tomorrow. So
it reminds you.
Remind me. But
that's what these interviews are useful for.
So well, I appreciate you.
Oh, please.
There was a case of a firefighter.
This one's appalling.
In Chicago, a black man who lived on the South Side. He purchased a car for his son that was sitting on a lot. That car sitting on a lot accumulated tickets.
17 of them, with late fees, $30,000.
He can file for bankruptcy or lose his job. That's when I learned that Chicago has the highest rate of personal bankruptcy.
That's just really interesting, because if you notice that his son or him did not commit the crime, the car committed the crime, and those late fees followed the car, and he nearly bankrupted himself, if not actually bankrupt himself, buying this car with these tickets attached to them. So this is yet another, going back to the family that lost their daughter. It's very unfortunate that even happened, but when a system is this poorly managed, that's not saving your daughter's life. That's just robbing this man, this hardworking firefighter, of his money when he's just trying to buy his kid a car.
Related to fines and fees.
In the country.
In the country.
Flat fines and fees of this sort have become a notorious way for cities to make money, as in Ferguson, Missouri, which helped trigger the uprising of 2015. The Justice Department concluded that, quote, Ferguson's strategy of revenue generation through policing has fostered practices that are themselves unconstitutional. These practices disproportionately harm African Americans.
Ferguson is the big case, but there's so many cases.
There is, however, it turns out, an alternative.
In the US, you pay maybe $200 for a fine. In Finland, you pay maybe 1%. It's in direct proportion to your income.
Of your total income, says U.S.-born Helsinki journalist Matt Schilke, which, if your wealthy NHL hockey player Rasmus Ristolainen, meant a fine of $135,000 for going 50 in a 25-mile-per-hour zone just a few years ago.
This is something that's been in Finnish society for decades and probably will be for the next decades to come.
Good old egalitarian Finland, whose policy Chicago Alderman Dan.
Okay, that's enough of this video. The rest of it is in the description. The guy at the end of it, who is the town apologist for this program, is really quite annoying, and I don't want to replay that again. I missed something earlier, I think, when I pulled up that window, so I'm going to go back to... I think it was this video, because I had missed something. Yeah, I glossed over this, so we're going to go back to the why red light cameras are a scam video.
Installation, operation, and maintenance of those cameras, which in turn cost cities millions of dollars. In Chicago, one ex-city official was convicted in receiving up to $2 million in bribes for red light camera contracts.
Yeah, see, this is what I missed earlier, since we just talked about Chicago from the last story, where they were talking about it disproportionately affecting minorities. If you notice, Chicago had a corrupt official taking bribes from these companies to institute these programs, because it's very profitable for these companies who run them. And so, of course, how do you get them in your cities? By bribing the officials.
And in a lawsuit, a fired Red Flex executive named...
Now, let's zoom in here. If you notice...
13 other cities that allegedly participated in receiving bribes.
Let's see. Red Flex bestowed gifts and bribes on company officials in dozens of municipalities within, but not limited to, the following states: California, Washington, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Colorado, Massachusetts, North Carolina, Florida, New Jersey, Tennessee, Virginia, and Georgia. So, I can't necessarily say who's on the take here in North Carolina, but it's happened in the past. That was a point I wanted to make, and I'm sorry I pulled up the other window for YouTube, probably complaining about this very video that they did not want me to show you from another channel. But anyway, going back to why speed cameras and red light cameras disproportionately affect black and brown drivers, I halfway agree with this. It's a problem for everybody. I don't know what technology they think they're using to where these cameras look for minority drivers on the road, because if you're speeding or running a red light, you're speeding and running a red light. It's the big picture that we want to take into consideration here. It's how our governments use and execute these programs. It's the fact that this is a money grab, and when forced to give the money to the schools, Greensboro chose to pull these cameras, and now they want to grandstand about your safety and say that they want to bring them back. Well, you know what? You should have been about safety all along. You shouldn't have cared that the money was going to go to the school. And to be honest, yeah, this is, you know, this is more grandstanding. And so to Assistant Manager Trey Davis, I ask you, were you not aware that this argument has been made, these studies have found this affects minority drivers disproportionately, or do you just not care because you're trying to line your pockets? Now, that's a question, not an accusation, but I would hope if you're in Greensboro, I have armed you with the resources in the description and the arguments to go make to your town council to call them out, hold them accountable, and make sure that these cameras don't come to your city or any other city. And this is a program that if you've watched my earlier video about Raleigh pulling their red light cameras, these cameras are already outdated. And they are soon going to be replaced by the Smart City AI camera grid that they will eventually bring into place. And if you're already aware of Greensboro in implementing smart city technology like that, please comment the name of the article in the in the comments, and I'll go back and try to Google it, try to read it later. I might comment on it if I find something interesting there. But again, I'm going to go ahead and give this little video a like here. But I hope this brings this issue to your attention. I hope you can take this information even if you don't live in Greensboro. Let's get rid of these cameras. Let's stop letting our local governments bleed us dry, all of us, for money that they line their pockets with, that these companies line their pockets with. You know, the beneficial effects of are either marginal or ineffective. So let's do what we can to make sure that this doesn't come to a city near you. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys